This tutorial demonstrates how to use a mobile app named Field Maps made by ESRI, also called ESRI, to collect GIS data on mobile devices, phones or tablets or tough pads. This particular tutorial is being recorded on an Android phone, and so settings will be just little bit different on Apple, but very, very similar, but just a smidge different. This is what the app looks like. You can download it from the Google Store or the Google Play Store if you're on Android. I'm going to go ahead and click on it to open it up. The first thing you have to do is you've got to sign in with ArcGIS Online. Please use the account that has been assigned to you by your ArcGIS Online administrator. And of course, you do need to be connected to the internet to do all of this. A subsequent tutorial is going to cover how you can use this app in the field when you do not have an internet connection. So I'm going to click on Sign In, enter my ID and my password. Once you're signed in, you'll stay signed in unless you log out intentionally. It brings you straight into your map gallery. This is what this area is called, where you have a section called My Maps right on top. I own a lot of maps, so it's showing a lot of maps. If you have been given an ArcGIS Online account that is a mobile worker or a field worker account, then you will not be seeing this section because you are not able to own maps. What you will be seeing is this section all the way down here, and you won't have to scroll so far because you won't have these maps on top. A section called Groups. This shows groups that I belong to, and in the groups are maps that have been shared with me by the people who have made that map, and that could even be myself because I do have a publisher account, so I have made maps, and these are the groups that I've put them in. So the project we're going to be demonstrating is DCR damage assessment. So I'm going to click there to get in. But before I go any further, I'd like to remind you to please go and check on some settings before you get any further. You do that by clicking on the icon on the top right, which is your profile. Feel free to browse through all these settings, but the two that I'm going to draw your attention to, the first one is collection settings. One thing that's of importance is the accuracy. If I click on it, it opens up all the settings. What this means is that if you are collecting a point, or a line or a polygon, and if you are going to be dropping your location points based on your GPS location, because all of these mobile devices have built-in GPS receivers, the accuracy has got to be 30 feet or better. What that basically means is the GPSs that are built into our devices are not 100% accurate. It changes from minute to minute, hour to hour, based on what conditions are like, how many satellites are in the sky for us to get GPS signal from. And when conditions are bad, the accuracy goes down. And what this screen is telling us is you have to have 30 feet accuracy. That means that the little blue point, once you get into this map, the little blue dot that shows you where you are on the Earth, has to be within 30 feet of where it actually is in the on the face of this Earth. You can think of it as a margin of error. If you need to tweak that, here's where you can go and do it. There may be times where you don't want to collect a data point unless it's super accurate, or you might have set it by default to 30 feet and you're in the field and you need to drop a point on a certain location and your accuracy is bad. You might want to go bump up that accuracy. All this to say that this will not apply if you just tap on the map to drop your point, and I'm going to demonstrate this later. So that is just for your information. The important setting to change here is the photo upload size. You may notice this defaults to large the first time you log in. This needs to be changed to medium. Otherwise, when you attach photographs to the data that you collect, photographs are large, and it really starts adding up. The data set gets large, it could get unwieldy, and it costs us a lot of money to store it. So please change it to medium. The second setting that's really important to have on is all the way at the bottom, troubleshooting. There's a setting called logging, which has to be turned on. You just slide the slider to the right. This is going to keep a log of all the things that your phone is doing, not in general, but when you're in the Field Maps app, it's going to keep a log of the Field Maps app. And should you run into any trouble, it's going to help us troubleshoot what went wrong. So collection settings and photo upload size, and down here troubleshooting are the two really important things that you should check on when you first log in, and anytime that you have updated either the app or the operating system of your phone or your iPad or your tablet, because sometimes these settings do go back, they get reset. Back to your map gallery. This is the DCR damage assessments folder. Not folder, it looks like a folder, it's a group. When I go in there, that is the map that has been set up for me to do my field work. If I didn't know exactly what my group name was, I also had the option of tapping on the magnifying glass and doing a search. You've kind of got to know something about the project, and I started doing damage and a bunch of things came up. The top part are maps that I'm in or that have been shared with me through groups, and the bottom are public maps out in ArcGIS Online. So they're both the same. It's just two different ways of getting at the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And just like that, I'm ready to start collecting data. This is the map that has been set up for me. And if you notice that it opened up at the state level and then it automatically zoomed in to my location. If it doesn't do that, or you can move this map by tapping on it and moving it. So I've moved it away. If you want to return to where you were at, all you have to do is tap on the top right dot right over there and it brings you back. This is the little crosshair kind of thing on the top right. You'll notice that there's a line right on top in blue that says GPS accuracy 12.3 feet, and you'll notice that the numbers keep changing. This is what I was saying earlier about conditions, satellites in the sky. This is pretty good accuracy right now. What this means is this blue dot, oops, if you zoom in too far, the map goes away. It's actually not accurate right now. I am inside the house and it's showing this to be in the yard, but fair enough. It's saying that point is about 12.3 feet from where it is. So that is the margin of error. This is decent. And like I said, this only is important. It's important if you are going to collect your data right on that blue point. But if you have a nice aerial photograph like this one where you can see what you're collecting, it's not so relevant because you can just put your finger on the place that makes sense, and that's where you will be collecting the data. A little tour of this app interface. On the top right corner are 3 different icons. The first one that looks like a diamond is actually a list of a bunch of layers. If I click on that, it shows all the data layers that are in this map. I can touch this right next to in the bar at the top and then gently pull it up to see the full list until it's full screen. This is all the data layers. For instance, I could turn on DCRS owned and managed, hit the X button, and what that does is it turns on a layer that shows what property DCR owns. It is not on by default, but you can go in here and you can turn it on. I'm going to turn it off for now because it obstructs my view. Right next to it is a search button, which does pretty much what you think it does. You type in, I've already typed this in once before, so it remembers. And if you click on it, it gives you search results. And if you click on the search result, it zooms you right into, I was already in that area, so you didn't actually see the zoom, but it zooms you into where that place is. You can hit the little cross button to go away, to get out of the search mode. I'm going to hit cancel. But there, it's actually taken me to Connor Memorial Pool, which is where I will be adding some test points. And then the last icon on the right, which might be very helpful, are the stacked 3 buttons, the 3 stacked vertical dots, also known as the overflow menu I'm going to click on it, and there's a whole menu of other really interesting tools that you can use. The base map is exactly what you think it is. It changes the background of the map, the base map. Right now, the one that's on is a 2021 color orthos, which is the latest aerial imagery that the state has, but you can change to any one of these that you would like. Navigation is a good one if you want to take a look at street names. Open Streets is also a really good one. Open Street Map. That gives you a lot of labels in addition to things that you can navigate by. And I'm going to X out of that. Actually, maybe I should go back and I should change it back to 2021 color ortho. There we go. The next thing on this overflow menu is the bookmarks. Bookmarks are basically different levels of zoom that have already been set up for you. If I click on the West Region zoom, for instance, it takes me to where the West Region of DCR is. And if you'd like to see the outlines of that region, you go to the layer list, pull it up a little bit, turn on the DCR regions layer, and there you go. That shows you the West Region, which is where it zoomed us to. Now, what if you want to tell what the difference is between these colors? That same menu has a legend, which tells you what all these colors mean. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the regions because it's obstructing my view. The next thing you can do is, I'm going to skip over markup. It's just a way to take notes on the map. I don't recommend you do it because it's hard to get the markups off the map. And if it is possible to actually get the notes off the map, but it's a more complicated process to get it back into the data set. So that's better avoided right now. The measure tool. The measure tool basically lets you measure lines and distances in area on the map. So I'm going to zoom into the Connor pool, and let's say I'd like to measure how big that pool is based on the map. How that works is this little the crosshair over here is how you drop points, and you basically drop a number of points. The points get connected, and that's the line that it measures. And how you how you navigate is you move the map around. So I'm actually not moving the crosshairs. I'm tapping on the map and I'm dragging it until the place I want to put my first point is right under the crosshair. So I'm going to put the corner of the pool right about there, and then I click Add Point. It's not so easy to tell, but there's a point right under the crosshair. The next place, so I'm going to do, let's say I want to measure the length of the pool. So I'm going to now move my map until I come to the other end of the pool, and I'm going to take it all the way up there. And as you can see, the dashed line is showing me what the line's going to look like once I add that point. There we go. I'm going to click Add Point. The dashed line turns into a solid blue line, and it reports the length right at the bottom of the screen, 149.2 feet. How about if I keep going to measure the area of the pool? Let me go get the other corner, Add Point, and you notice that the length of the line just went up. I'm going to move down again to the other corner, Add Point. Going to move back again to the original point. It nicely snaps to the original point and turns it into an area calculation. If you still just wanted length, you can just move a little bit away so that you're not quite at that point. You can even move a little bit away like that. There we go. At this point, I have a length measurement, 382.7 feet. But if I move my crosshair back to the point and say close area, that's what my area is, and it's in square feet. If I want to undo that last thing I did, I hit the undo button on the top right, or I redo, or I hit the delete button on the corner, which doesn't have anything to do with data. It just means that this particular measurement line and polygon is gone. And now I can do another measurement, or I can hit on the X on the left and get out of here. I think those are all the really important things over here. I'm going to visit the edit multiple later on. And then the last thing, the most important thing that you're going to be doing with this app is collecting data. For that, we go to the little plus button on the bottom right. I hit on the plus, it zooms me to where I am, which is going to work for you in most cases. It just isn't now because I'm doing a dummy training. So I'm going to zoom right back in. And there, I'm going to get started. So there's 3 aspects to GIS data when you collect it in the field. One is its location. Another one are its attributes, which is the GIS term for the fields. That's what's going to describe the data. And the third thing are photos. So this first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the location. Let's say I'm assessing this building over here. I'm going to, let's say I've seen mold on the wall on this side. I'm going to position it and I'm going to click on update point. So if I move my cursor away, you can see that that's the blue dot. I've done the location part of my data collection. Now this data set actually lives in the internet, in the cloud, in ArcGIS Online. So I haven't added this point to the cloud just yet. I've started the process. If you go to the very top of the screen, on the right, there's a check mark. Unless I hit that check mark, the data will not go in, this data point will not go into the data set. And if I hit the X on the left side, it's going to back me out and I can start all over again. So the point is done. The next thing is taking a photo. I'm going to click on take a photo and I'm going to take a photograph. If I like it, if this works for me, I can click on the check sign. The back button gives me another chance to redo it. There we go. I'm going to click on the check button because this is what I wanted, and there it is, photo1.jpg. So part 2 of data collection is done. I've taken a photo. You can take as many photos as you need, being aware again that the data set expands and grows with every photo that you take, with every point that you drop. So please use your discretion and use only as many photos as you need. And the third and last thing is filling out the information fields, the attributes. The very first one, well, first I'd like a little overview. Each little box is a field in which you must fill data. On the top is the name of that field. If there's a little asterisk next to it, like there is for the assessor name, that means that it's a required field. It's very important, and unless you fill out that field, you will not be able to actually put this point in the data set today. The second field from the top, which says assess date, also has a line of text right under the box. It says date on which the damage assessment was made. That's a little tool tip for you. It's a little instruction so you know exactly what you're expected to do. Some are open fields that you type things into. Some have pick lists. So we're going to get started so I can demonstrate. Use any kind of name format you'd like, with the exception of initials. If I put in CL for my initials, I can't be sure that somebody else doesn't have the exact same initials. So just remember that lots and lots of people will be collecting data into this data set, and you want to be able to tell apart yours from theirs. So put in as much information as you need. Assess date. When I click inside the box, it pops open a calendar, and it actually defaults to today's date. All I have to do is click on it. I don't even have to click on it. Just hitting OK would have done. Next is the data entry method. My tooltip says, how was this point added to the GIS data? If I click inside the box again, there's a little pick list that tells me maybe it was from the field, from the desk, or it was backfilled from records. In the fields, if you were actually doing it if you were actually at the location assessing it. From the desk may mean that you have all the photos, you have all the notes, you just didn't get a chance to fill it out in the field, and you're going to do it from the desk. Backfilled from records is a very special case where you might have been given a list of observations that you need to input into the data set. You were not there, you did not make the observations, and so it's important to say that this is backfilled from records, because that will trigger scrutiny of the data, and someone else will go and verify the data that you have backfilled, if that is needed. The next date is the damage date. The next field is the damage date, which is the approximate date that the damage occurred, your best guess. I'm going to say that the damage happened 2 days ago. I didn't really get a chance to visit it until now. The next, the little down arrow where it says building info must fill 1, it's actually a group of fields. There's 2 fields in there, building code from DCAM and place name. You fill out the first field, the building code, if the point that you are dropping is associated with a building. And if it isn't, because you could be assessing damage on a road or in the woods or on a trail, then you can leave the building code blank and enter the place name. This point is actually a building code, so I need to fill that out. But I don't know what the building code is, so what I have to do is I'm going to click on the collect button, or sorry, not the collect button, it was up here. I'm going to click on where it says Flood Damage Assessments 2023, and I'm going to gently pull down the window until I can see my screen. The little purple square with the label next to it is the buildings data set from DCAM, and it's labeled with its building ID. So what I have to do is I have to note what that is, 438 DCR 1902. And now I can expand this again, 438 DCR 1902. Let's go back into building info. I can start typing out 438 DCR. And I don't even have to finish typing it because here it is. That's the one. And just let me make sure. 438 DCR 1902. Yep, I got the right one. And because I filled this out, I do not need to do place name. I can collapse this group again because I'm done with that. But you must make sure that one of those 2 is filled out. The next thing is the damage date. Oh, I'm sorry, I've already done that. The date the damage occurred. The asset type. If I click inside, it tells me what kind of asset I'm evaluating for damage. This one, I think I'd like one called building. There it is. The next one is a damage type. Collapse, debris, displacement. There's one called mold. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And another, I'd like to demonstrate that if nothing on this list works, like I've encountered something that isn't covered by the list, I can click on other damage type, and magically another field appears right underneath this that says, oh, you said this is another damage type. Please tell us what that damage type is. And I can go ahead and say bathhouse, for instance. Boathouse. And down the line, that will probably get added to the data set, to the pick list, so that it's covered for other people in future. The next field is damage severity. If you read through the options, they are fairly self-explanatory. I'm going to say affected, which is the minimal amount. And the description, it's really important to put in at least a few lines about what I see. Suspected mold. I think there's a few thousand characters that you can type in here, so you can't exactly write a novel, but you can do a description maybe with some abbreviations and truncations. The next is the operational status. I'm going to say this is operational. Intervention level, which basically means, oh, the tooltip actually goes away if you don't click anything. The tooltip, and if you click on something, it comes back because it's a required field. When I didn't click anything, that tooltip was replaced by a stern warning. What this field is, what the intervention level means is, what will it take to fix the damage observed? Your options are none. It's damage. I'm noting that there's damage, but we don't really need to fix it. It's very minor. Or I'm not really qualified to determine what kind of intervention level is needed, so I need help to determine. That's when I would select the second one. In-house means that we can take care of this in-house. Contractor means this is beyond us. We need expert help. So if you're not sure what intervention level is required, you're always free to select that second value. Estimated costs, what you think it'll take. Again, I said that there's no, I'm going to say maybe $500. I have no idea. The next is the verification level, and it's important to read the tooltips because the estimated costs included overtime and staff time. The verification level. What this is are you able to fill all this information accurately, or does it need to be verified? I could be pretty unsure about what I've seen. A lot of these things I may not be qualified to judge. In that case, I can actually flag this as saying needs verification, and someone from the GIS team at DCR is going, or not from the DCR team, not the GIS team, the DCR team is going to go in, look over the data, fill out any fields that have been left blank, or change any values that were difficult to assess. And then notes, and then when they've verified it, they're going to switch this value to verified so that you know it's been taken care of. And then notes are for any catch-all notes that you have. And then now if all of this is correct, I'm going to show you what happens if I don't. Oh, well, this one was optional. I like to demonstrate what happens if I do not fill out a field. And I think it's here. I'm going to X that out, which means I deleted what I'd entered. And let's say that I forgot to fill out the asset type and I didn't notice the little red text. The red text is a warning, but let's say I missed it. And I'm all done. I've got my location. I've got my photograph. I filled out my fields. I'm going to go click on the little checkbox on the top right side to submit my point. And I get an error. It says one attribute failed. This is the system reminding me that I did not fill out all the fields that I was supposed to. I'll click on view. It takes me right to the field. And I think I called this a building. Oh, that's up there. And now when I try again, it's going to go right in. There we go. So that is how you enter a point. And there it is. Oops, if I back out and open up the map again, there's the point. It didn't used to be there before, but it is there now. I'm going to go ahead and add a second, or I'm not going to add a second point. I'm going to show you how to edit any of the points that are in this data set. And sometimes you may change your mind about an observation that you made. I might have walked around this building and seen another photo that I want to add that I forgot to add. So I may want to add another photograph. Or you could be one of those people verifying the points because somebody said, oh, I'm not sure of my data. Please, can you come in and take a second look? And I can do that right from this app. So what you do to edit an existing point is you click on that point. Once you've clicked on it, a number of options become available on the bottom, the leftmost of which is a pen symbol, which is the edit icon. I'm going to click on it. And instantly, this takes me back to a very familiar screen that you get when you're first adding a point. And this is the workflow from here is exactly the same as adding a point. I can move this point if I've decided the point is in the wrong location. I can move it and say update point, or I can move it back. I can add another photo. I can go change one of the fields. And then I click the checkbox again, the check mark again, and it's submitted. And now if you click on it and you pull the screen up, it tells you all the information that you put in about the field, about this data set. Yep, all looking good, all looking good, all looking good. Alternatively, you can also delete this point. I highly recommend do not delete any points that you have not entered because that is not your call to make. Yep, there we go. And that's it for adding and editing data. Another example, the last feature that I should demonstrate is, I'm going to need to add another point in order to demonstrate this, is how you can edit multiple points. I right now showed how we can edit one point, but there is a way that you can edit a bunch of points at the same time. I'm going to just drop a point here, and I'm going to whiz through this and just, this time I'm going to just enter CL. I'm going to enter the date, desk value, today. I have to fill these out, otherwise I won't be able to put it in, so I'm just whizzing through this right now. I don't even know what I'm clicking on. Verification level. And with that, there's no red text on the screen. That means I've gotten everything. I have my location, I have my photograph. Everything is ready. I'm going to go ahead and click submit. Oops, 3 attributes failed. I guess I didn't cover everything. I forgot to put in a building code. What else did I forget? The extent of damage observed, description, intervention level. I was going so fast. So this is actually not, this is gonna go away, I think. Yep, there we go, it's submitted. So I now have 2 points, and you'll notice that if this point, the assessor name was C. Lahiri. The second point, my assessor name was CL. And that is not consistent. What I can do is, instead of, let's say I've dropped 30 points today, instead of editing these individually, I can go into that handy little overflow menu, click on edit multiple, and I can select all the points that I need to edit. Again, making sure that you're only editing your own point and not somebody else's, that you're authorized to edit this point. I can click on continue, and now if I go down to assessor name and type in C. Lahiri, as soon as I hit the check sign, it updates both that field in both the points. So you have to exercise extreme caution when doing this, because if this was 30 points that I had selected, and if I had edited some other really important field, like say the asset type, or the asset type or something, I would have been in trouble, because all those points may not have been the same asset type, and I would have deleted all the individual information that's input here. So use with extreme caution, and only if you need to. Another warning is that this feature is currently not working in the iPhone version of the Field Maps app. So this is only an option at this moment in Field Maps. A quick reminder, you'll notice that we've dropped 2 damage points, and they're 2 different colors. I'm going to go to the overflow menu and look at the legend to explain what they are. Now that you're familiar with the data form, one of the fields is verification. Like what kind of verification does this point need? The red dot means that in that field you said it needs verification. Blue means you said it's not applicable, doesn't even need verification, I'm good. Green is what the red will hopefully one day turn into when somebody has verified it. Somebody's going to go in, let's say I'm the person verifying this, I click on the red point, go into edit mode, let me go find the field that says verification level. Let's say I've updated all the fields and the location and everything. I'm going to switch it to verified, because this is now done. And now when you go back, these are both green. So that's what that is. That is the end of this tutorial. The subsequent tutorial is going to cover how to do all of these steps in offline mode.